Rihanna is completely done playing nice, you guys, and the danger wasn't just close, it was literally inside her inner circle's digital footprint. Right now, the internet is absolutely spinning out of control because the estranged husband, Jed Valdez, just leaked the ultimate atomic receipts. We are talking private DMs, deleted messages, and hidden timelines that change everything we thought we knew about that terrifying day at the Beverly Hills mansion. We aren't talking about a random fan who suddenly had a bad day anymore. The mainstream media fed us the story of Ivana Ortiz, the quiet speech therapist from Florida, who just snapped. But these newly leaked DMs? They hint at a calculated, deeply orchestrated plot that was signaling in the dark for weeks. If you think this was just a chaotic mental break, honey, you don't know the half of it. Drop a like, hit subscribe to Celebrite Future, and let's get straight into the receipts because the math is officially not matching. Did she plan this attack for weeks? Or are we looking at something way more sinister? Let's get into it. The mainstream media really thought they could wrap this entire situation up in a neat little bow and call it a day. But the internet never sleeps, and the digital paper trail that Jed Valdez just unleashed has completely shattered the official narrative into a million pieces. To understand why this leak is sending shockwaves through the entire entertainment industry, we have to go back to the absolute chaos of that afternoon in Beverly Hills. When the news first broke that shots were fired near Rihanna and A$AP Rocky's property, the headlines immediately painted a very specific, very convenient picture. They told us it was a lone wolf, a random woman from Florida named Ivana Ortiz who had a sudden, tragic psychological break from reality, hopped into a car, and drove across the country on a whim. The public was told to look at her background as a speech therapist, a mother, someone who spent her days helping children, as proof that this was just an unpredictable, isolated incident of someone losing their mind. We saw the standard talking heads on television shaking their heads, calling it a societal failure of the mental health system, and essentially telling the public to move along because the suspect was in custody and the danger had passed. But if you have been paying attention to how these high-profile celebrity incidents are handled, you know that whenever the official story feels that simple, it is usually because someone is trying to hide a massive, gaping hole in the plot. The narrative they fed us was that Ivana just woke up one day, left her normal life behind, and decided to target one of the most famous women on the planet for no rhyme or reason. But this new batch of leaked direct messages completely obliterates that entire timeline and proves that the water beneath the surface had been boiling for a very, very long time. This wasn't a sudden snap decision made in a moment of temporary insanity, because you do not just accidentally acquire a military-grade rifle, rent a high-tech vehicle, and navigate a 30-hour cross-country trip without a serious amount of preparation and intent. The leaked DMs that Jed Valdez allegedly put on blast show a systematic, week-by-week escalation that is so terrifyingly dark, it makes you wonder how on earth this woman was flying under the radar for so long. We are looking at messages that date back at least a month before she ever stepped foot in California, revealing a deeply rooted, venomous obsession that wasn't just directed at Rihanna, but was intimately tied to her own crumbling marriage. The internet is losing its collective mind right now because these texts show that Ivana was operating under a heavy religious delusion, believing she was on a literal mission from God to clear a path for her own future, and she viewed Rihanna as the ultimate obstacle that needed to be removed. In some of the earliest leaked messages from the previous weeks, she was reportedly telling her estranged husband that his soul was tied to the pop star, and that a spiritual contract had been signed in the dark. This is where the sarcasm of the internet detectives really kicks in, because while the mainstream media is trying to tell us she was just a confused mom who got lost in her thoughts, the receipts are showing a woman who was treating this like a highly classified tactical operation. She was allegedly sending encrypted messages to burner accounts, mapping out routes, and leaving a digital footprint that looked less like a medical patient spiraling out of control, and more like a determined operative preparing for a strike. The controversy is exploding because people are starting to realize that the people around her had to have seen the red flags. You do not have someone in your house talking about biblical doors closing and renouncing global icons without realizing something is severely wrong. Yet, according to these leaked documents, the conversations kept going back and forth, turning into a toxic, repetitive argument behind closed doors while the outside world just saw a sweet speech therapist going to work every day. The juxtaposition between her public persona and this secret digital diary is exactly why the internet is turning into full-blown FBI agents right now. People are combing through every single syllable of these text messages, looking for hidden codes and trying to figure out if she was being manipulated by someone else, or if she was entirely the mastermind of her own twisted reality. The phrasing she used in these private chats is chillingly precise, constantly referencing specific dates and deadlines, which completely destroys the defense's argument that she didn't understand the nature of her actions. If you are setting deadlines, if you are telling your spouse that a door is going to close forever if they don't comply with your demands, you are showing a clear comprehension of cause and effect. You are bargaining, you are planning, and you are anticipating a specific outcome. This brings us to the massive reputational damage this leak is causing, not just to the suspect's defense team who are desperately trying to push for a mental health facility instead of a prison cell, but to the entire circle of people who claimed they had absolutely no idea she was capable of this level of violence. The internet is calling out the absolute hypocrisy of trying to sweep these weeks of planning under the rug just because she has a respectable job on paper. If this had been anyone else without a college degree or a middle-class background, the media would have labeled them a domestic threat instantly, but because she fits a certain demographic, they wanted us to believe it was just a sudden, sad medical emergency. But Jed Valdez's decision to drop these receipts has completely forced a massive pivot in the public court of opinion. He effectively handed the prosecution the ultimate golden ticket on a silver platter, proving premeditation beyond a shadow of a doubt. The unhinged nature of these messages shows a toxic entitlement that is honestly hard to wrap your head around, where she genuinely believed she had the right to dictate the life and safety of a billionaire mogul and her young family just to resolve a domestic dispute with her husband. The internet comments are absolutely savage right now, with fans pointing out that she was sitting in Florida writing dark poetry about closing doors while Rihanna was literally at home nesting with her newborn babies, completely unaware that a digital storm was brewing thousands of miles away. The sheer scale of the obsession is what makes this case so uniquely terrifying, because it highlights the ultimate dark side of celebrity culture, where an unstable mind can completely twist reality until they believe they are a main character in a global drama. As these leaked messages continue to circulate across social media platforms like wildfire, the technical and logistical details of how she executed this plan are starting to come under intense scrutiny, because when you look at the physical evidence alongside these text messages, the official story of the lone wolf shooter starts to fall apart even faster, and the missing links in her cross-country journey point to an entirely different level of assistance that nobody in authority wants to openly talk about yet. The physical and logistical reality of this cross-country journey completely shatters the lone wolf story, because when you look at the map alongside the vehicle data, the official timeline begins to collapse under its own weight. We are talking about a distance of over 2,000 miles from Orlando to Beverly Hills, a grueling drive that takes at least 30 hours of continuous movement. The internet sleuths are currently mapping out every single charging station along Interstate 10 and Interstate 40, looking for any shred of video evidence that shows who was actually inside that white Tesla. This is where the conspiracy theories start turning into highly plausible questions, because a Tesla is not just a standard sedan, it is a driving computer that constantly pings its location, records its surroundings, and monitors the interior cabin through an array of high-tech sensors. If Ivana Ortiz was truly navigating this massive logistical puzzle entirely on her own while carrying a military-grade rifle, she would have needed to stop at least 6 to 8 times just to plug the vehicle into a supercharger. Online detectives are pointing out that each of these stops requires roughly 30 to 40 minutes of stationary time in highly public, heavily monitored areas. Yet somehow a woman who was allegedly in the deep, chaotic throes of a severe manic episode managed to navigate these charging networks, pay for electricity, and maintain a completely low profile across 5 different state lines without attracting a single ounce of suspicion from bystander or law enforcement. The internet is screaming that the math simply does not add up unless she had a co-pilot, a handler, or a driver keeping her steady and managing the logistics while she remained hyper-focused on her ultimate target. This brings us directly back to that explosive police dispatch audio from the afternoon of March 8th, a piece of evidence that the mainstream media is desperately trying to bury beneath a mountain of mental health updates. When the first emergency calls flooded the system at 1:15 in the afternoon, the initial responders on the scene explicitly reported seeing a Hispanic male in the vehicle. That detail was broadcast clearly over the radio waves. A literal phantom passenger who seemingly vanished into thin air, the exact moment the police finally forced the vehicle to a halt at the Sherman Oaks Galleria. The public reaction to this missing man is reaching a fever pitch, with thousands of comments demanding to know how a physical human being described by eyewitnesses can just be deleted from the official police narrative. People are slowing down the dashcam footage frame by frame, zooming into the heavily tinted windows of the white Tesla, and swearing they can see the distinct silhouette of a second individual ducking down in the passenger seat. If there was indeed a second person in that car, it completely changes the legal and moral fabric of this entire case. It means we are no longer looking at a solo act of madness, but a coordinated stalking operation where someone else was driving the vehicle, mapping the escape route, and potentially even supplying the weaponry. The internet is asking the hard questions about the weapon itself, because an AR-15 style rifle is not a cosmetic accessory you just pick up at a local California grocery store. California has some of the strictest firearm laws in the entire country, requiring extensive waiting periods, background checks, and specific safety compliance features. If Ivana brought that weapon with her all the way from Florida, she committed multiple federal offenses before she ever pulled up to Rihanna's gate. If she acquired it after arriving in Los Angeles, it means she had an underground connection, a black market source who handed her a semi-automatic rifle right before she drove up into the Beverly Crest neighborhood. The sheer coordination required to secure an illegal firearm in Estranged city while undergoing a psychological breakdown is exactly why the lone wolf narrative feels like a massive cover-up, designed to protect a much larger network of individuals. The sarcasm online is hitting an all-time high as fans point out that the police apparently needed 30 full minutes to intercept a vehicle that they had already identified within 3 minutes of the shooting. The technical capabilities of modern law enforcement are staggering, especially in a high-security, ultra-wealthy area like Beverly Hills where license plate readers, private surveillance networks, and police helicopters are standard infrastructure. The internet is accusing the department of gross incompetence or deliberate negligence, wondering why an active shooter with a loaded military rifle was allowed to drive through miles of heavily populated residential neighborhoods and pull directly into a massive public shopping mall before a single officer made physical contact. The theory circulating in the dark corners of social media is that law enforcement wasn't just trailing the car. They were waiting to see if she would lead them directly to her accomplice or a secondary drop spot. This ties directly into the bizarre state of the vehicle's undercarriage when it was finally processed by forensics. Images leaked to anonymous forums show that the lower body of the white Tesla was absolutely caked in thick, dark mud and off-road debris, a detail that stands out like a sore thumb in the middle of sunny, paved Southern California. Where do you go off-roading in a high-tech electric sedan between entering the city limits and shooting up a billionaire's mansion? The digital detectives are looking at the canyons of Malibu and the remote stretches of the Mojave Desert, speculating that she went off the grid to either hide evidence, bury a secondary cash stash, or meet with the mysterious Hispanic male who was spotted behind the wheel. The public reaction is a volatile mix of absolute terror for Rihanna's family and deep skepticism toward the official statements being released by the district attorney's office. People are pointing out the ultimate irony of the suspect's fresh, tight box braids, an intricate hairstyle that takes an immense amount of physical endurance, patience, and premeditated planning to achieve. The internet commentary is flooded with women explaining that you do not sit perfectly still for 10 hours while an undocumented stylist pulls at your scalp if you are in the middle of a sudden, blinding psychosis that completely detaches you from reality. The braids speak to a cold, calculated vanity, a woman who knew she was preparing for a historic event, knew her face was going to be plastered across every television screen across the globe, and wanted to ensure she looked pristine when the inevitable mugshot was taken. This level of self-awareness and aesthetic planning completely shatters the image of a helpless, confused mother who simply lost her way. It shows an individual who was highly conscious of the spectacle she was creating, someone who was actively treating this life-threatening assault as a grand theatrical performance. As the public continues to devour these leaked details, the focus is rapidly shifting toward the extreme financial anomalies of the case, because a standard speech therapist's salary does not easily fund a multi-state tactical road trip, a high-end electric vehicle rental, luxury window tints, and black market military hardware, pointing to a hidden financial benefactor whose identity is hidden deep within those deleted direct messages. And as the legal teams begin their battle behind closed Doors, the true fallout of this digital exposure is about to trigger a massive institutional panic that goes all the way to the top of the judicial system. The institutional panic is already setting in across the entire California judicial system, because the moment those private communications leaked, the defense's entire strategy of pleading complete mental incompetence was instantly dead in the water. The legal teams are currently scrambling behind closed doors to figure out how to mitigate the absolute disaster of these digital footprints, because you cannot convincingly argue that a person was entirely unaware of right and wrong when their own messages outline a detailed, step-by-step manifesto of retribution. The controversy surrounding her bail being set at a staggering $1.8 million is reaching a boiling point, with the public demanding to know why an attempted assassination on a global superstar and her infant children is being treated with any level of leniency. On the internet, the breakdown of that financial figure has fans turning into legal experts, pointing out that in the high-stakes world of bail bonds, a wealthy benefactor or a highly organized underground group could easily come up with the 10% cash collateral needed to walk her right out of the detention center. The very idea that a woman who carried a semi-automatic rifle across 5 state lines could potentially walk free on a technicality while awaiting trial has caused a massive wave of public backlash that is forcing local politicians to issue frantic, scripted statements to calm the waters. The sarcasm online is reaching unprecedented levels as commentators mock the defense's attempt to play the ultimate sympathy card, trying to paint a picture of a gentle medical professional who just had a bad day, while the receipts show a cold, calculated individual who knew exactly how to manipulate the system. The family's desperate pleas to transfer her to a luxury, private psychiatric facility instead of a maximum security prison cell are being met with absolute derision from Rihanna's global fanbase. The collective consensus across social media is that if those 20 rounds of ammunition had traveled just a few inches to the left, tearing through the glass of that Airstream trailer and striking one of the babies, the conversation would not be about mental health awareness or medical mercy. It would be a universal demand for the absolute maximum penalty allowed by law. The fact that her aim was terrible should not legally diminish the horrific nature of her intent, and that is exactly the point the prosecution is preparing to hammer home, using the husband's leaked data. The ultimate irony of Jed Valdez releasing these messages is that his attempt to publicly distance himself from the chaos might be the exact thing that seals his estranged wife's fate for the rest of her natural life. By exposing her ultimatums and her precise demands to renounce a billionaire celebrity, he didn't prove she was crazy. He proved she was rational enough to engage in tactical bargaining. He handed the state a flawless, undeniable timeline of premeditation, showing that every single action she took was part of a conscious, structured checklist designed to achieve a specific, terrifying outcome. But the conspiracy theories aren't stopping at the courtroom doors, because people are now looking closely at the timing of the leak itself, questioning whether the husband's sudden desire to share the truth is actually a clever legal maneuver to secure absolute, undisputed custody of their child and position himself as the ultimate blameless victim. The internet is flooded with speculation that there was a much larger, much more toxic back-and-forth conversation occurring in those deleted threads, arguments that may have pushed her over the edge and triggered the final drive to Los Angeles. This entire situation highlights a terrifying systemic failure in how modern society handles the intersection of extreme digital obsession, severe mental degradation, and celebrity culture. We are living in a media environment where unstable individuals are allowed to form deeply toxic, parasocial relationships with public figures, fueled by constant access to their personal lives, their homes, and their daily routines. The scriptwriter culture of the internet thrives on dissecting every single detail of a celebrity's existence, but for the unstable 1% of the population, that constant stream of content ceases to be entertainment and becomes a literal directive from a higher power. The failure of the community and the legal system to intervene when she began posting unhinged gospel ministry videos online shows a massive, gaping hole in our social safety net, where an individual can completely transform into a dangerous operative in plain sight, while everyone around them simply looks the other way to avoid an uncomfortable conversation. The public is looking at the entire entertainment landscape and realizing that this incident is a massive wake-up call for high-profile security measures across the globe. Rihanna reportedly making the executive decision to pack up her entire family, board a private jet, and completely vanish from the city of Los Angeles proves that the illusion of safety in these ultra-exclusive celebrity enclaves has been permanently shattered. When a billionaire mogul with access to top-tier private security forces, state-of-the-art surveillance and restricted entry gates cannot protect her toddlers from a cross-country stalker with an AR-15, it sends a chilling message to every public figure in the industry. The internet detectives are refusing to let the story die, constantly demanding the release of the raw, unedited internal camera footage from the white Tesla, convinced that the answers to the missing passenger and the dirty undercarriage are locked away inside the manufacturer's secure servers. Until those digital files are fully exposed to the public court of opinion, the official narrative of the lone, misunderstood speech therapist will continue to be picked apart by millions of skeptical viewers worldwide. The final fallout of this case is going to reverberate through the legal, tech, and entertainment sectors for years to come, serving as a grim reminder that in the modern digital age, the distance between a dark online delusion and a real-world tragedy is only a 30-hour drive away, leaving an entire culture to grapple with the terrifying reality that the next digital storm could be brewing right now in the comments section of any random viral video. And that, you guys, is the terrifying reality of the world we are living in right now. The official story is officially cracked, the receipts are out in the open, and the internet is not backing down until every single missing piece of this puzzle is brought to light. But now I need to hear from you. Lean into the comments right now, and let me know your absolute unfiltered thoughts. Do you believe the husband's leaked DMs prove she planned this for weeks? Or is he just trying to cover his own tracks? And what is the real story behind that phantom passenger the police initially reported? Is there a second threat still out there in the dark? Tell me I'm wrong about the braid theory, or tell me if you think the system is completely failing to protect the people we watch every single day. If you want to stay ahead of the narrative before the mainstream media tries to suppress it, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe to Celebrity Future, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a single receipt. Stay locked in, keep your eyes wide open, and I will see you in the next one. Stay safe out there.